Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvadha Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunattu Saha Viryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vitvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are at the stage where the student is asked, what is Atma? It was a very important question. And the teacher had answered that it is firstly something that is distinct from the three bodies, namely the gross, subtle and causal body. So Atma is distinct. The word he used was Vyatirikta. So Atma is distinct from the three bodies. And he said it was also Panchakosha Tita, Panchakosha Atita. That which is beyond the Panchakoshas, beyond the 5 states of experience, 5 levels of experience. And then he went on to say that it is the Avastatraya Sakshi. Sakshi means witness. It is the witness of the 3 states of experience. And he went on to say that Atma is that which remains in the form of Sat Chit Ananda. So, for the past 2 weeks, we have been looking at Atma as distinct from the gross, subtle and causal bodies. And when I say distinct, it means that Atma is not the 4th object in addition to the gross, subtle and causal body. The relationship between Atma and the 3 bodies is one of Satyam and Mithya. Atma being Satyam, gross, subtle and causal bodies being Mithya. So the next question from the student naturally is, what are the 5 levels of experience, the Panchakoshas? But he does not ask that. Instead, he asks the next question about the 3 states of experience. He asks about the Avastatraya, which is in page 218 of the Blue Book. I shall chant it. Avastatrayam kim jagrat swapna susutyas avastaha. So, the 3 states, so the student is asking, what are the 3 states of existence? Because the teacher has said that Atma is the witness of the 3 states of existence. What in Sanskritam we call as the Avastatraya. So he has said that Atma is the Avastatraya Sakshi. So the student is asking, what is Avastatraya? What is these 3 states of existence? And the teacher says that there are 3 states of existence. The first is called Jagrat Avastha, or waking state. Then comes swapna avastha or dream state. And the third is sushupti avastha or deep sleep state. And by deep sleep, we mean a state of sleep where there are no dreams. Okay? So there are three states of existence. As I mentioned in an earlier class, the analysis of the three states of existence is very unique to Hinduism and Vedanta philosophy in particular. So the student asks, so the next question from the student actually is to ask, what is Jagrat, what is Swapna, and what is Sushupti? So the first question he asks in page 219 is, Jagrat Avastha Ka? And the teacher replies, it is, Shrotradi Jnanendriyehi Shabdadi Vishaya Jnanayanta iti yatsa Jagrat Avastha Tula Sharira Abhimani Atma Vishvaha iti uchyate. So there are two sentences there. In the first, he's saying that the waking state is that in which the objects of cognition, beginning with sound, sight, taste, and the rest of it, are cognized by the organs of perception, such as the ear, nose, etc. That is called the waking state. And then he goes on to say that Atma, when identified with the gross body, is called Vishwa. We'll look at the second part later. Let's look at the first part, where he's saying that the waking state is the state in which the objects of cognition, beginning with sound, are cognized by the organs of perception, such as the ear. So, where this perception takes place is called the waking state. Okay? Let's look at it in greater detail. Sense objects are perceived by the sense organs. We already saw this in the analysis of the subtle body. For the sense organs to operate, there is a need for the sense objects. So seen objects are objects of the sight. Heard, things that you hear are objects of the hearing. Things that you smell are objects of the sense of smell. Tasty objects are sense objects associated with the sense of taste. And objects that you can feel are sense objects associated with the sense of touch. So these are all sense objects that exist in the world. And these are perceived by the respective sense organs in the gross and subtle, via the gross and subtle body. So there's a sense of hearing, sense of seeing, sense of smell, sense of taste, and sense of touch. So with these sense organs interacting with the sense objects, we gather experiences. And if you look at it carefully, your entire life in the waking state revolves around this. From the time you get up to the time you retire to bed, your transaction with the external world involves these sense organs, where you are constantly interacting via the sense organs. At other times, of course, you may be entertaining your internal thoughts. But moments when you're not entertaining your internal thoughts, when you're transacting with the outside world, it inevitably involves the sense organs and the sense objects. And you continuously gather experiences. And these are all, and this transaction takes place via the gross body. And this is well known to all of us. I mean, this is something I'm stating what is very obvious to all of us. And for the second part of the sentence, the teacher is saying that here, Atma is identified with when Atma is identified with the gross body, it is called Vishwa. So the waker is called Vishwa. Okay? A word of caution, when we say that is identified with the gross body, assumed that the subtle body and causal body are also there. Remember that the gross body by itself, without the subtle and causal body, is nothing but dead matter. So, when he says here that Atma, when identified with the gross body, is called Vishwa, what it means is that actually Atma, when identified with the gross, subtle, and causal body. Okay? So, this is our common experience in the waking state. And this is well known to all of us. We need not dwell too long on this. It's the state in which we spend most of our time, from the time we get up to the time we go to bed. So the next question from the student is, what is the dream state? And that's in page 222. Swapnavastha ka iti chet jagratavasthayam yadrishtam yachrutam tad janita vasanaya nidra samaye yaf prapanchah pratiyate sa swapnavastha Sukshma Sharira Abhimani Atma Taijasa Iti Uchate. So he's saying here, the student is asked, what is the dream state or Swapna Avastha? And the teacher is saying, it is the world which is experienced while in sleep and is projected by the impressions born of what was seen, what was heard in the waking state. It's the first statement. In the second statement, he says that Atma, when identified with the subtle body, is called Taijasa, or the effulgent one. Okay? So, during the waking state, we experience the external world. And as the transactions with the sense organs and sense objects takes place, something else also happens. You have to remember that the mind is also at play there. Behind the sense organs, the master puppeteer is actually the mind. Because without the mind, the sense organs by themselves cannot operate. That is why you can be listening to a lecture, and your ears are actually, the sound actually going into your ears. But if your mind is somewhere else, you don't register what was heard. Likewise, find something else, even for sight sometimes. You see? So the five sense organs are driven by the mind. So the mind is greatly at play when transactions take place in the waking state between the sense organs and the sense objects. So when these transactions take place, the mind records these experiences. And when I say record, it just doesn't record what is seen. Actually, all the five sensory inputs are recorded, including smell, taste, touch, and hearing. And the recording of these experiences can last with you for several births. These registered experiences are what in Sanskritam and in Hindu tradition we call as vasanas. So these things that are recorded, these experiences that are recorded, are all deeply embedded within you. Okay? And these are called vasanas or samskaras. So, what the teacher is trying to say here and explaining the dream state is that in the Jagrat Avastha or waking state, the mind is recording it. And when it is tired, you go to sleep. And in sleep, in the dream state, the mind is switching from the recording mode to the playback mode. It's switching from recording mode to the playback mode. And this is where he's saying that a lot of the dreams are essentially the vasanas that are projected by the mind as dreams. Okay? So an inner private world is actually experienced in the dream state. So the waking state is an external world, which I can typically share with others, but the dream state is an internal world that is only known to me. Okay? Now, because a lot of our time and energy is spent on the waking state, the dream state is not given a lot of importance. But in Vedanta, the dream state is used to draw a very, very powerful analogy to explain the waking state. And I hope to do this now. So, all of us have got dreams. Let us think back about the dreams and look at the validity of some of the statements that I'm going to make. Number one, objects and experiences of the waking state are negated in the dream state. I say that again. Objects and experiences of the waking state are negated in the dream state. What do I mean by that? I can be a certain professional working in a certain place, living in Singapore, going through this COVID experience, and having a wealth of information, experience, knowledge, family, parents, and so on and so forth. But I can be going through a dream where I can be a totally different person. In the dream, I can be an emperor, having a huge kingdom, having lots of bodyguards, immense wealth, beautiful palaces. And while that dream is there, that waking state is totally sublated. The dream is not a dream in the dream state. This is the second statement you have to note. So the first is that the objects and experience of waking state are negated in the dream state. And secondly, the dream is not a dream in the dream state. While you are going through the dream, that particular experience is real as what the waking state is to you right now. All right? So in the dream state, there are people, there are places, there are objects. There is an entire time zone that is different, an entire time frame that is different. There is space in the dream. And so the dream is real while you are in the dream. You can only say it's a dream when you come out of the dream and you're in the waking state. So when you're in the waking state, you can say that the dream state is dream and it's gone. But while you are in the dream, the waking state is totally unknown to you because you are in a totally different time frame. So the dream is something that's conjured up by the mind. And this is where Vedanta makes a very, very powerful statement, which is the third statement, that experiences in the waking state are also another dream. Experiences in the waking state are also another dream. It's a very powerful statement which many of us may not be even able to believe. Some find it very hard to believe. And the absolute truth of this statement can be revealed when one attains self-realization. But in Vedanta, before self-realization, while the sadhaka is on the journey, the truth of this statement is seen through very deep analysis in the Upanishads, particularly the Mandukya Upanishad. Because this is a very mind-boggling statement. It's a statement that is saying that this waking state that we are all in right now is no different from a dream that you experience when you go to sleep. And Mandukya Upanishad does a very thorough analysis to show you why this is the case. Because it goes on to say, just as the dream is a projection of the mind, the waking state is also a projection of the mind. And of course, the second part of the statement where it says that Atma, when it's identified with a subtle body, is called Taijasa. That's just a technical term. Okay? I want to go back to the comparison again, the mind-boggling statement that has been made. So, we take time and space typically as absolutes. If we take time and space as absolute, in other words, time and space in the waking state as absolute, and we compare it with the dream state, the dream state seems to be something that's an illusion, whereas the waking state seems to be more real. But you have to take note of a very important point. time and space are also within the time frame of your mind in the waking state. Just as how you have a time and space in the dream state, you have a time and space in the waking state. The time and space of the waking state does not exist in the dream state, and vice versa. So this is a very powerful logic to say that the waking state is no different from the dream state. The perceived world is nothing but a construct of my mind, because time and space exist only in my mind. I think it's a good point to stop here, to open up for questions.
Ravi, just want you to explain a bit further on the last quote from Mandukya Upanishad, where you said that experiences in the waking state is also a dream. It's easy to understand. A dream is a projection of my mind, because my mind is conceiving the whole dream. But to say that the reality, the waking state, is also a projection of my mind, it's a bit difficult to understand, because each of our mind is different, right? So does that mean our reality is different? It's not. It's the same reality, right? So how can we say that each of us is actually projecting our mind is actually constructing the waking state?
Each of us. Is there each of us? Every other person other than yourself exists in your awareness, in your dream. If I existed in your dream, if I came in your dream, which I shouldn't, but if I did, if I came in your dream, where do I exist in your dream? I exist in your mind, right?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
So the same way now, I'm also coming in the waking state, in your presence. It's a very difficult statement to accept, because we have taken time and space as absolute, as our start, as our only reality. And I can fully understand if it sounds, if it's really difficult to accept, you see. But if you analyze it carefully, you will find that actually it makes a lot of sense. Because the entire world that I perceive is a construct of my mind. That is why when you go to sleep, when you go to deep sleep, there is no time and space. And in dream, there is a different time and space. And when you sleep and you wake up, but things continue, right? Because when I wake up, I don't become somebody else. Why? Because the mind that had concocted the waking state earlier had gone to sleep, and then it wakes up and it continues the concoction. Remember, the mind has got a very powerful memory within itself. So the memory continues. That is why when I wake up, I can continue with that state of waking. It's just that it's a longer dream. Our typical dreams tend to be shorter. But again, we are able to say it's shorter only because we are in the waking state. While I'm in the dream, there is no scope to say it's short or long.
So what is the point of this comparison? What is the significance of this dream comparison?
It is to show that every moment your mind is constructing a universe for you. That what you are perceiving, including time and space, are all constructs of your mind. They are all constructs of your mind. And this is arising from the deep conditioning that we have all been going through. This conditioning that has taken place, not just in this birth, but for hundreds of births prior to this. Our mind has been conditioned to take it this way. That is why the vichara, the inquiry in Vedanta, is very important, to see the logic and reality of this. You see, you may not be able to fully accept what I'm saying, but you can't disprove what I'm saying. You can't disprove what I'm saying.
It be true to say that because of the dreams, you also generate vasanas in the waking state? Just like it happens one way, the other way also happens. Is that true? Because when I come out of the dream, I still remember the dream. And if there was something that is there, would that impression also be carried into the waking state? Therefore, do the two feed each other?
It's a good question. I've not come across scriptures that say something to that effect. Whether in other words, when my mind responds in a certain way during the dream, does it create certain impressions that manifest in the waking state? Right? Is that your question, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the one.
So good. Yeah, I've not heard anything to that effect because because if I go by that argument, then the dharma and adharma that I commit in the dream state will
Should also,
result in punya and papa in the waking
correct.
state, which wouldn't be fair, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I've not heard anything to that effect. So for now, the scriptures primarily talk about the dream state as a manifestation of the vasanas that one has earned in the waking state, you know, and
Yep.
not the other way around. Yeah. But if
Sure.
you can find something to the contrary, please share.
No, just a thought that came to me, because if I remember the dream state, what happens in the dreams, then that also creates some impression, because I'm able to remember it the following morning. So that's why I thought whether that also is.
Okay, it definitely comes as smriti, because remember, the mind has got the faculty to be able to recall.
Correct.
So will those experiences that I went through in the dream state be recallable in the waking state? The answer is yes, it will be. But will it remain as a vasana? Logically, I would say if it's a deep impression, you know, something that can be very painful, it may persist as a vasana in the waking state.
Right.
I mean, yeah, to the best of my knowledge, that's the way I see it. But I haven't found anything in Shastra to that
Okay.
effect. Please share if you come across something.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sorry, but it was a strange question.
I'll look it up. If I can find something, I'll share. Yeah.
Sure.
Siva?
Yeah. So I think it's a continuation of what Saundarya was asking. I'm also finding it a bit difficult to accept that the Jagrat state is a projection of the mind. For example, in my Swapna state, right? If I'm killed, I can still wake up in my Jagrat state and I'm still alive. But in my Jagrat state, if I'm killed, I can never go back to Swapna state, right?
Killed.
So I feel Jagrat state is more real. I mean, once you're killed there, the game is over. But in Swapna state, if you're killed, the game is still not over, right?
You do not know in Jagrat state if you're killed, the game is over.
Okay.
You remain a subtle body.
Reincarnation.
Yeah. Huh?
Okay.
So it's not, game is not over. It's the same. So it's no different.
Okay.
Somebody else had raised a hand?
Yeah, myself, Ravi.
Yeah.
Just how does the dream state, how is it related to consciousness?
How is the dream state related to consciousness? Can you hold the question until we come to consciousness?
Okay.
In Satchidananda,
Okay.
when you look at Satchit Ananda, which is the later,
Will do.
then we'll show the relationship between dream and consciousness.
Okay.
But remember here, just to drag out your eagerness. Remember that the guru, the teacher, had said that it is Athma is avastatraya sakshi. So sakshi means it's witness. So it is the witness of the waking state and the witness of the dream state. So it is the seer of the waking state and dream state. Just to give you a teaser. I will go into greater depth when we come to it. Okay? Anand Mani.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Hi. So you mentioned that the Sthula Sarira Sakshi is Vishwa. So, but we hear or...
Slowly. Sthula Sharira Sakshi. No, I didn't say that.
So...
Atma, when identified with Sthula Sharira, is called Vishwa. That means basically identification with, when I'm identified with the gross body and implicitly the subtle and causal body, I'm called Vishwa, that's all.
But Vishwa, as we know it, is called world, right? Or that world, that word
No.
is different from this word.
Different. Contextual use. This is a different, not the world. No.
Okay.
This is the
And
contextual usage of the word Vishwa, not the common usage as in universe. No.
similarly for Tejas, because in the
This is not
Swapna,
Tejas, it's Taijasa. Tejas means heat, and in Sanskritam, Tejas means heat or heat energy. But here it's
okay.
not Tejas, it's Taijasa. So it's different again.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question regarding, why is it so hard to see in our waking state that it's just a dream? I'm wondering if the scriptures offer some insight onto how, like when you're like dreaming at night, it's a very individual experience. But when you're awake, it's like there's this collective agreement that this is real. There's a collective agreement that you
Collective
are the
among who?
manager. Among like people and society. It feels so real. Every day you go to a manager, you are treated as a manager. So like when somebody like has an experience, a psychiatric experience, let's say of a psychosis, and they are not in our shared reality, and it's so easy for us to say like, oh, this person is mad, but actually this person was simply just in another dream that I am not in at this moment. Do you get what I mean? There's something quite collective about everybody's waking state that we all sort of just agree.
Again,
and
that
it's
statement,
so real.
no, but that statement, collective, it's again, you inquire, there is no collective because it's all your own perception of this. The word collectiveness is your perception of collectiveness. They exist in your perception. Right? You drew the conclusion. It's your conclusion that it's collective.
Right.
Just as in the dream state, I also have many people. In the dream state, I can have many people who are also having the same viewpoint, and I can come to that same conclusion in the dream state. That this dream state is very, very real, because there's a collective perception that it is real.
Right. Okay. So I guess the main difference is like in the dreams of the night, it's just it's so short lived that it's hard. It's so much easier to recognize that it's a dream. And there's something about the waking state that's like, I don't know how many years. I mean, depends on how long you live. Is that I guess that's
Yes.
my.
Yes, you're saying that because you're in the waking state now. When you're
Yeah.
out of the dream state. So you're able to make this statement that the waking state is very long and dream state is very short. When you are in your dreams, especially those painful dreams when you go through, time, the sense of time there was so real. You had already, at that point, when you are in a dream and I'm an emperor, I don't ask the question, hey, how did I become an emperor? 3 years ago, I wasn't an emperor. No. The sense of time in the dream state is so real. I have been born as a boy, maybe born to a king. I've been raised, I played toys with other princes. All of this is already there in the collective memory. The mind is already conjured all this in the dream. And it's so real while the dream lasts. You see? I don't ask all these questions. How come suddenly I'm an emperor? No. It's taken that I'm an emperor. The mind is already concluded there. And it's so real while it lasts. All these judgmental statements about the dream can only be made when the dream is over and I'm in the waking state. Right?
Right.
It's
So there
conditioning.
there really is no difference, and the point of this parallel is just to say that, once only when you're awakened do you fully realize that this really is a dream as well.
Yes.
So it's a very direct parallel.
Yes.
Is that what they're trying to say? Okay. Wow.
One more clue about to support this statement would be, in the waking state, our lives are essentially the lives, the way our mind sees it. And if you analyze even your waking state, you'll know that the past, we've done this type of analysis when Vedanta teachers come and conduct classes for us. They always make an analysis of the past and the future. And we find that actually the present is really all that exists. The past is something that exists in the mind. The future is something that is imagined by the mind. So actually past and future don't really exist. The only existence is the present. And that is why these days mindfulness, being in the present, these are all taught in a big way, because it's really what Vedanta has been talking about for a long time. And if you analyze and live in the present more and more, you will start to see the reality of this statement that we are making, that the waking state is no different from the dream state. That the waking state is also a construct of the mind. That time and space are not absolutes. They are constructs of your mind.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So I was saying that the other way that we can talk about how the waking state is a projection of the mind is how when we just like the same 5 minutes be experienced differently by every single person. Even the concept of time is experienced differently. So there's actually no two people who are going through any kind of similar or rather exact experience. So just looking at how one person spends 5 minutes or feels the 5 minutes, and then another person, if he's sad, the 5 minutes goes on for so long. Person's in a hurry, the 5 minutes goes on really fast. So actually there's no single person who experiences a collective or an absolute. Everything is just a projection. I thought yeah.
Sure. Thanks.
Ravi, can I
Yeah.
ask a question?
Sure.
In the waking state, we interact with thousands of people in their own waking states. So there is a lot of interaction and connection between the waking states of many, many people. But in the dream state, we don't interact with anybody in the dream state. Because when they do psychoanalysis, they psychoanalyze your own dream and only your dream and not other people's dream. But when you are doing investigation, your interaction with everybody else is part of the same waking state of everybody else. So it's not unique to your own mind.
Others exist.
Yes.
In your awareness.
Yes.
So there is no common, that's what Till.Ravi was saying earlier. There is no collective. Because your point about others is not absolute. The others also exist in your awareness, in your waking state.
But those interactions, they have the same interactions as you have, right?
No, the interactions are seen by you. The interactions between them are seen by you. The interactions with you are seen by you, are perceived by you. So it's all in your perception.
Let me think about that.
Yeah, think about it. It's not easy.
Ravi, can you repeat the question and the answer in short?
Whose question?
Dr. Prasad's question.
Okay, Dr. Prasad, maybe you want to repeat.
What I was saying is, in your waking state, you are interacting with many, many people all the time. And whereas in the dream state, it is not. In the dream state, you have your own dream. Your mind controls whatever is in your dream state and creates that. But the mind doesn't create, what Ravi says, it's a perception that is being created. But the interaction that you're having is real to everybody. That's what I was saying.
Okay.
In the waking state.
Okay, Sandhya. Abhinav, you have a question?
Yes. So I'd like to know if we are actively engaging with these vasanas during a dream state. In the waking state, for example, we are presented with circumstances, what we call prarabdha karma, so I can work on these. But am I actively burning any karma while I'm sleeping?
Actively burning karma when you are sleeping. Good question. Okay. You see, there's some, I've read this before in some scriptures where they say that there are certain experiences that you go through to exhaust your punya and your papa can also be done in the dream state. What do I mean by that? It means just as Punya fructifies as comfortable experiences and papa fructifies as uncomfortable experiences, and you go through these experiences in the waking state. Some of these experiences may fructify in the dream state as well for you to go through, thereby so-called exhausting the karmas. So the answer to your question is yes. Okay? Have I answered your question?
Yeah, you have.
I can't see you, so you have to give me an answer.
Yeah. I just read somewhere in the, I think it was autobiography for yogi, where they say that those who indulge in meditative practices and Raja Yoga in general are on an accelerated path where they're clearing karma and while they're asleep.
To clear karma, to accelerate the karma, yoga is one, yeah, he's right. But there are many ways to accelerate the karma. Raja Yoga is just one way. A prayerful life and a life committed to God is a sure way to accelerate karma. The more time you spend in devoting to seek God more and more, such a life will definitely accelerate your karmas. I'm not saying it's going to be a bed of roses. Karma acceleration means things are compressed. You can go through pain. It may happen. But remember, because you're seeking God, you have God as your co-traveler. And in this type of journey, when the pain comes, you've got God there to cushion you. And therefore, it makes it all the more pleasing. And this is how acceleration of karma takes place. But for it to happen, you must have the willpower to embark on the journey. If you're not prepared to do that, then you'll go through the normal path, the slow path, if I may use that word, and go through the regular cycles of birth and death.
Okay, thanks.
Pushpa?
It's just a comment. Ravi, I've heard that from Amaji's class that when you are in your dream state, you only exhaust karma but no earning of punya.
Yeah.
Or papa.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exhaust only.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. That you go through the experiences, agree. So, I want to add a few more points on this before I go on to deep sleep state. Now, at this point, you may not be able to accept it. Go ahead, do your vichara, do your inquiry, think about it. But if you take it on the faith of the Shastras, take it for now on good faith. You may do that. But I want you to also ponder about some other points that people typically make, and then you will see why, what is the basis for making those statements. Because the first pertains to the power of thought and the power of manifestations. There are lots of books written, especially lately in the last 10, 20 years or so, about this power of positive thought and manifestations, where people say that very powerful thoughts can actually make the positive thing happen likewise for you, you know. But most of the time, they also put a qualifier that this type of positive thoughts and things that you want, it has to be for the greater good of all and not really for a selfish purpose. Okay, so they do say that. And if you analyze and you read some of the spiritual literature, the basis for this is basically if the waking state world is a construct of my mind, then that world can be shaped through positive thinking and positive manifestation. And to add on, a pure and a steady mind is more likely to manifest the outcomes that it wants compared to a mind that is not pure and steady. Again, lots of Siddha Purushas are able to manifest things like that exactly because of this reason. And as Abhinav mentioned, even Paramahansa Yogananda was a classic example of a person who could manifest anything at will. And why is it possible? It's because if the entire world is a manifestation of my mind, then I can shape the world the way I want it to be. And that includes manifesting things that I want to happen within that world. That is how they were able to do it. Great Siddha Purushas were able to do it. But to do that, you need to have great levels of purity of mind and steadiness of mind. Okay? But at our level, whatever we want to do, we can put a lot of time and effort into purifying our mind keeping our mind steady. And this way, positive outcomes will manifest for us, especially if those outcomes are for the greater good of all. You will see this happening in your own life. And the basis for this is linked back to the point that just as how the dream world is your own construct, the waking world is also your own construct. And therefore, whatever outcomes you want to achieve in the waking world, you can achieve. You see the point there? So that's the point I'm trying to make with regard to that. Okay? Any questions before I move on to deep sleep state? Okay. So we finished Jagrat and Swapna. Sushupta Avastha is in page 227. Atas Susupti Avastha ka aham kimapi na janami sukhena maya nidra anubhuyate iti sushupti avastha. What is saying? He's now asking, what is deep sleep state? And the teacher replies that, I do not know anything. Happily, the sleep is experienced by me, and this is called the deep sleep state. Then he goes on to say in the next verse on page 229, Karana Sharira Abhimani Atma Prajna iti uchati. Atma, when identifying with the causal body, is called Prajna. Okay? So, in the deep sleep state, neither the external world perceived through the sense organs nor the inner world projected by the mind from the vasanas is experienced. So neither is experienced. So what do we experience? It's a state where it's an experience of I do not know anything. That's the only experience that you have. There are no worries, no anxieties, emotions are resolved. Sometimes even body pains are resolved. That's why you can have the greatest sorrow and pain. But when you go to deep sleep, it's gone. And you only get it when you get up the next morning. The sorrow comes back when you get up the next morning. But while you are in that state of deep sleep, there is no sorrow, no anxieties, no mental, no afflictions of any sort. And it's a sukhena, the word they use is a comfortable experience. It's the state of where I am ignorant of everything, including my happiness and sorrow, a state of peace. Because there is no active mind, there's nothing that is not, the active mind is not there because it is already resolved into a dormant state in the deep sleep. Okay, that is why when I wake up, I'm able to say, I slept peacefully. So the absence of anything is registered in the dormant mind, the mind which is unmanifested there. And subsequently in the waking state, when the mind is manifested again, the mind is able to say, earlier on, I slept peacefully. When you are sleeping peacefully in the deep sleep, you don't say, I'm sleeping peacefully now. You can't say that, right? You only say it after you wake up and the mind is manifested. Okay? So, in essence, the Atma in deep sleep is identifying with the causal body. And then, and in that condition, it is called prajna. Okay? So that's what the teacher says. From then on, he goes on to the Panchakosha Prakriya, where the 5 layers of personality about an individual. It is also the 5 layers in which the errors pertaining to who I am are made. Okay? We shall not go there because it's an entirely different topic. I shall take questions at this point on the 3 states of experience. Do note, he has said that Atma is Avastatraya Sakshi. So Atma is the witness to the waking state, witness to the dream state, and witness to the deep sleep state. Okay? Any questions?
Yeah, I read in a yoga text that apparently the more meditation that you do, you can reach not a 4th state. I know that they say only there are 3 states, but even in the first 2 states of sleep, you are aware that you're just a witness. So you're experiencing the fear. The dream is very scary, but you are awake to know that this is a dream and I'm just watching. Is that written anywhere here?
Not here, but in yoga text it is written. Yes. I've come across people too who know that, who can see that. That comes with high degrees of purity of mind. And that's why you said, as you rightly pointed out, meditation with high degrees of purity of mind and steadiness of mind, one is able to see that.
So deep
Shanti.
sleep is not that, right? It's
Sorry?
completely...
Deep sleep? No, even in deep sleep.
Deep sleep is not that, it's separate.
No, because if Atma is Sakshi of all three states, even in deep sleep, he is able to see himself in deep sleep. That is the state of the person who has the self-realized jnani. Yes.
Yeah.
Shanti?
Yeah. When you normally go to sleep, you go from waking state to dream state, then to deep sleep, right? But you know, when you remember all these things when you wake up, but when you get this general anesthesia or something, it's something strange. It knocks you out completely. What is the state of the mind then? It's something completely different.
Sorry, I lost you at the last part.
So when you get this general anesthesia, right, you get knocked out completely. I don't know what is the state of mind then, but you don't remember anything, of course. But it is something very abrupt that happens.
I see. General anesthesia. Oh, okay. I'm not a medical doctor.
I've only had it once, but it was a very strange experience. It's like you don't go gradually from waking state to dream state to deep sleep. It's like you're knocked out immediately.
No, but Shanti, it's not right to make the statement that everybody goes to deep sleep via the dream state. We can go to deep sleep straight away from waking state.
I see.
Right?
Okay.
I don't get dreams every night. I mean, yeah. So essentially I go to deep sleep from the waking state. So if you draw that parallel, then anesthesia is probably similar, where you are making the mind go into the unmanifested state through the nervous system, through medications supplied to the nervous system.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Tilda, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment about the anesthesia part, and I just saw a comment in the chat about coma. That because I watched this documentary about like consciousness and all that, and so the medical doctors actually shared that for people in anesthesia or in coma, they actually are still able to measure a lot of activity, like in form of like consciousness. So it's sort of like, yeah, it's like Atman is there. It's the Atman that's experiencing the inactivity rather than there is an absence of experience.
Yes. Okay, let's not say Atman, but basically you can say that the subtle body is still there, right? The subtle body is able to perceive it. I've come across that too, where people sit in coma, they were able to see their own gross body lying on the hospital bed. Yeah. Agree?
Yeah.
Mr. Anand Mani, you also asked about coma. Yeah, so I guess that answers your question because you're asking in the chat group, right? Yep. Okay, thank you. Yeah, you got to repeat your question.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to add that there's a neurosurgeon who wrote about his experience in the state of coma, and he apparently transcended, and he spoke a lot about it. So I think you can look it up. It's a pretty famous book.
Okay.
Yes. Could you talk a little bit more about what vasanas are, how they're created, and what happens? And it's kind of a very broad question about vasanas itself.
Okay. Vasanas are basically impressions of experiences that we go through, primarily in the waking state, experiences which can be external, number one. Number two, it can also be impressions created from my reactions to things. So when certain things happen to me, say an external stimuli were to come to me, how I react to that, how I react to that external stimuli also leaves an impression behind in my mind, which is called vasana. So say, for example, if I were to see a certain person and I were to react angrily even in my mind, let alone my words, the mere angry reaction in my mind can leave an impression behind, which is called a vasana, which subsequently may trigger that similar response when that person is seen again. So this is a simple example of vasana. There are many. So vasanas are a lot of our knee-jerk responses and our reflex actions, especially in our modes of thinking, our ways of thinking, and our way of responding to people, events, situations. No, there are a lot of them are an outcome of the vasanas. So, and some of this are good, and some of this not so favorable. And many a times we sometimes go back and regret why we responded in that mechanical way, which is not a way you wanted to respond. But it happened because of that programming, so-called programming, which is another word for vasana.
Right.
So how to overcome it? Does it mean I'm stuck? No, of course not. Conscious living, being heightened degrees of alertness, awareness of my thoughts. Shama, Dhamma, correct. All of this will help to shape the vasanas and give and guide it in a positive way, such that the type of response that comes is favorable.
Right.
But this is part of spiritual sadhana. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Karthik, sorry. Yeah, please proceed your question.
Yeah, my follow-up to that was, like you mentioned, if there is an event and my mind reacts to it, but I do not follow through, which means I have, Dhamma, which basically allows me to control my reactions. Just because my mind reacted to it, would that still result in a punya or a papa, which means is it still a karma?
Yes, karma is all three. Kayika, Vachika, Manasika. Remember we spoke about this? The mental action is just like a physical action. So that is why it's very important to have right thinking, dharmic thoughts of unconditional love, forgiving, kindness, compassion, and eradicate negative thoughts of fear, thoughts of aggression, thoughts of hurt, thoughts of hatred. All of this will create papa in our account.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Abhinav, you have a question?
Just a comment to add. It's not biologically possible to slip from to a dreamless state without navigating through the dreamful state, because your mind, at least biologically, your brain goes through different cycles, and then you have to slip through what they call the theta state before you go into the REM-based sleep. So those who don't remember dreams probably just lasted longer in the REM sleep. But of course, anesthesia and coma is a straight descent. It is a rather artificial way into dreamless state.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. It's just that it's too short that we can't recall it and we think that we are slipping directly into deep sleep. Understand? Thank you, Abhinav. Chitra?
Me? Okay. Ravi, you mentioned that the Atma in deep sleep identifies with the causal body. Could you explain that, please?
Okay. What is happening in the deep sleep is that the mind is in an unmanifested state. So in deep sleep, essentially all the sense organs are withdrawn into the state of into an unmanifested state. And if you remember, causal body's definition is that which is unmanifest. So does it mean that in deep sleep state I'm totally only the causal body is existing? It's not true, because the prana is still existing. So you are in a state where there is the gross body. There's some parts of the subtle body that are functioning, some parts that are unmanifested. You see, So primarily, it is a state where there is no mind and there is no knowledge of anything, because everything is unmanifested. And that is why they're saying that Atma in that state is kind of associated with the causal body. And therefore they are giving the term called prajna, that's all. We can't say that in deep sleep there is no subtle body and only causal body. That's technically not right, because there is still prana functioning in deep sleep.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, the way we seem to normally refer to vasanas gives one a sense that it is invariably negative. But then vasanas can also be positive, isn't it? Which means, like you mentioned about the stereotyping. I mean, I look at Trump and I get a certain attitude which might actually be generating a papa for me. Okay. But by the same token, whenever I look at Shankaracharya or I look at Ramana Maharshi picture or whatever it is, there can be a positive vasana, isn't it?
Absolutely right. My example
So
may have been negative.
vasanas need not all. Invariably, we keep talking about vasanas. We should. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, what I was going to say was another word for vasanas. If you remember, I said it very quickly. Maybe you didn't catch it. Another word for vasanas is samskaras. So samskaras is a more positive spin on vasanas. Basically, it is things that, that's why even our rituals, our Hindu rituals that we practice are sometimes called samskaras, because those create the positive vasanas in us that will make our responses always align with dharma and not get us into difficult situations or bring us uncomfortable experiences. On the contrary, these type of responses that are aligned with dharma will continually give us comfortable experiences. Okay, yeah, so yeah, your point is right. Vasanas are not negative. They can be both positive and negative.
So we should be encouraging our positive vasanas and discouraging our negative vasanas, basically.
Correct.
Or
the samskaras
shunning
that we
our negative vasanas as far as possible.
Correct. So the samskaras that we talk about in Hindu tradition, when you go for a Hinduism 101 course, we go and explain the 16 basic samskaras that every Hindu is supposed to do. You remember things like wedding, naming ceremony, child feeding ceremony, annaprashanam, and the whole works of it. All these rituals in the Hindu tradition are essentially there to imbibe in you positive vasanas or samskaras, so that it develops. And what does it mean when you say positive vasanas? It's basically vasanas that will make you respond in a way that is aligned with God, that puts God as center stage in your life, that makes you lead a God-centered life. So these samskaras, these rituals are all geared towards developing in you such vasanas, such that every response that comes out from you will be something that is pleasing to God. You see, will God like me to have this kind of thought? You know, that's the first question you ask before that thought comes. Will God approve if I do such a thing? Will God approve if I say such a thing? Will God be pleased if I do such a thing? If we can have this type of questions in our mind before every thought, word, or action is done, we are well on the way to greatness, to put it simply. And when I say every moment means, I mean everything, not just on some days, not just on Tuesday and Friday, or when I'm in the temple. It's every moment. Such analysis can be done. Then your life will be one of positive asanas, positive samskaras. And that's really precisely what the Hindu tradition seeks to build via the rituals. Okay? This is something we need to bear in mind when we do rituals. It's not just about going through the motion and having the fanfare and the party and the celebrations. It's actually it's a larger good, a real spiritual purpose behind having these rituals. Okay? Makes sense?
Thanks for the elaboration.
Yeah.
Ravi. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Siva, you have a question again?
Yes, Ravi, sorry. I'm still stuck with the earlier, what we were saying is that the Jagrat state is also projected by it's a projection of our mind. So say, for example, I'm now in a deep sleep. Totally, I'm in a deep sleep. But somebody comes and wakes me up, okay? So, and suddenly I move from the deep sleep state to the waking state. But the person coming and waking me up is not projected by me. It was not created by me, right? It was definitely something real. Somebody came and woke me up. That's why I moved from the deep sleep to waking state. How can we say that that is also projected by us?
It is projected by your mind, because the person waking you up is also taking place in your mind. You are able to say this because you have gone through that experience.
Oh,
You
okay.
are saying this because you have experienced it. It has all taken place in your awareness. I'm not saying that the deep sleep state is not is divorced. The Atma, that is the witness to all the three states, is seeing this. Remember that.
Okay. Okay.
I know it's tough. It's tough. Think about it. Think about it.
Okay. Thank you.
Tilda? Again?
Sorry. Sorry. I just have one last question regarding what you said earlier about, you know, how like recently there's a lot of books written about manifesting something that you want, be it something, you know, that could be indeed good for the world as such. But I'm also wondering, you know, in order to really do that, you need some kind of like really good, steady and pure mind. But it seems that having that pure and steady mind necessarily also kind of means that you have very, very few desires left. But desires are like the starting point of what you want to manifest. So how does one balance between wanting to manifest something, but also recognizing that it is a desire? It seems really like the paradox of, you know, the people who can really manifest are people who in the first place probably don't have that much that they really want to manifest in this world. I don't know. It's just something that seems to strike me.
It's a good point, but let me tell you something. If you read autobiography of Yogi, it's a good example. You see how he manifested. He does lots and lots of manifestation, lots and lots of it, but never for himself. It's always for others. You look at the lives of sages, saints who are able to manifest. It's always for others. Look at the life of Shirdi Baba, for example. If you read Charita, Sat Charita, it's about always manifesting for others. It's for helping others. Who else can I think of? Ramakrishna Paramahansa, same thing. Although he didn't have that many manifestations, limited, but the classic example would be Paramahansa Yogananda. So back to your question, yeah, when you become so pure and steady that you're able to manifest at will, you will not manifest for yourself. You will do it for others. You see, and that is why even in Yoga Sutras, they specifically mention that this, you can call this a siddhi or a power to manifest. It should be, you should not attach importance to it when you get it. Because when you get it and you attach importance to it, you will forget your higher goal, which is God realization. So the yoga text will always warn you about not getting excited about this ability to manifest, because it will lead you down the wrong path. See? So it's a very fine balance that the more you become attuned, pure, and able to manifest it, the less you want to do it for yourself, and you do it more for others, which is a great thing. Make sense?
But makes sense. So the point is, even though you are trying to manifest, for example, for the greater good of other people, even in doing so, you should still approach it with detachment or dispassion.
It should be, it's like karma yoga. We spoke about karma yoga. More and more selfless actions, less and less self-centered actions. And when I say actions, I mean physical action, verbal action, mental action. So this back to the life of karma yoga. If you live a life of karma yoga, you don't have a problem.
Okay. Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Lata?
Okay, the waking state is an objective world out there, how we experience it. And the dream state is a subjective world out of thoughts and imaginations. So just want to know if is there any way that we should always have a sweet dream and not have nightmare because we control our minds, isn't it? Through this dream state.
Let me just make a point. That is why I specifically omitted the word. I did not say that the waking state is an objective world and the dream state is a subjective world. This is what we think. But Shastras are saying that the waking state is also a subjective state. It's something that is a construct of your mind. Every moment you are constructing the universe for yourself. It's a very lofty statement, not easy to accept because of our deep conditioning that time and space are absolutes in the waking state. Okay, it is something that needs a lot of deep analysis. It took an entire Upanishad to analyze this to see the truth for it. So in Vedanta Shastra, we will not say that, at least, especially when we are doing Avastatraya inquiry, we will not say that waking state is subjective and dream state is, waking state is objective and dream state is subjective. We will not make that statement. We will not. Shanti.
Yeah.
Shanti.
So,
yeah.
We started this today by saying that the waking state is where the object of the senses is connected to the cognition. It is cognized. So is that also a construct of the mind?
I mentioned about the sign, about the senses being backed by the mind, remember? So the mind is certainly involved. So the entire cognitive process involves the mind. It takes place in the mind. Yes.
Okay.
Soundarya? Yeah, thanks. Soundarya?
Ravi, I just wanted to clarify Ms. Lata's question. I think she was asking about what we can do to make our dreams more positive rather than having nightmares. Is the answer to that, it's something that's not under our control?
Are dreams under your control today?
Sorry?
Are dreams under your control today?
No, they are not.
So you want to make dreams pleasant?
Yeah, so I guess you're trying to ask, how can we make it more pleasant? Because it's not our intention. Actions, karma is with intention. Dreams are not with intention. Okay. So I think that was a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lata. I think I must have missed that question. Sorry about it. Is that the case, Lata? Yeah, okay, sorry. If dreams are vasanas, then just as what as Sada asked earlier, it's all about working towards a life where I develop positive vasanas and samskaras. And if I'm getting, I know many people who go through a life where every other day they're getting bad dreams, And some of these may not be a result of this birth. It could be something even from past births. So prayer, all the prayer, worship, God-centered life, these are the common tools that you would use to develop the positive vasanas in you, and positive vasanas will manifest as positive dreams in one's sleep. That's the approach towards that. Any other questions? Okay, I just want to share. Okay, no other questions. That's all. Okay, before we wrap up, I just want to share a screen again, because Dr. Prasad said that to break the visual monotony of having to look at my face, we should have more slides and all that. So I've prepared one slide, which is actually a recap of Karma Yoga. So I'd like to share that with you. Hopefully this will benefit those of you who missed the earlier classes. Essentially, we're looking at Karma Yoga, that comprises right action and right attitude. Right action being less actions, less self-centered actions, and no prohibited actions. What is prohibited actions? Basically actions that are adharmic. And then right attitudes about arpana, buddhi, and prasada. Why I'm sharing all this is also because we live in a time today when I think after many years we are all having a common problem. problem that's affecting all of us one way or other, which is our COVID-19 situation. So here and now with the circuit breaker situation in Singapore, we'll all be going through different types of responses to be coming within us, the way things are happening around us. So I would urge you to look at how you can implement this karma yoga in this situation right now, especially with the circuit breaker where you're all confined to homes and you find people not following the circuit breaker rules. You get all sorts of responses arising in your mind. Look at how you can use this as opportunities to implement right action and right attitude. Spend the time more on inner reflection, meditation, making time for God, doing japa prayers, read more shastras. So these are some of the suggestions that I can make. Make use of this opportunity. See it as a blessing of sorts to lead a more God-centered life and a life of karma yoga. Being a student of Vedanta, it is very important that you do it. And look at this COVID situation as presenting an opportunity for you to do that. Okay? Okay, any other questions? Otherwise, we can wrap it up. Okay? Okay, I'll do the closing prayer. Swasti prajabhya paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaha ko brahmanebhya shubhamastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu kale varshatu parjanyaha prithvi sasya shalini desho yam shobharahitah brahmana santu nirbhayaha sarve bhavantu sukhinah sarve santu niramayaha sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukha bhag bhavet asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you.